Welcome back to the SMT YouTube channel. Folks, I got a really great topic for you here today. There's some new Street research that just hit the publications, and I want to kind of bring you guys up to speed on it and what it means, and kind of take the AT&T angle to it. All right, so the research that we currently have from New Street, 32 million fixed wireless access subscribers potentially for the industry. Those would be shared between AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon, the three big builders. Now, 21 million would be consumer customers like you and me, and then 12 million would be business. All right, so that's kind of how that breakdown is. Now, all indications appear that according to their research at New Street, AT&T is likely to enjoy the most growth from this particular, I guess, remaining upside for 5G home internet. And it kind of makes sense. They just acquired a bunch of new spectrum from EchoStar, 3.45 gigahertz midband, and they also got some 600. The 600, the low band, that's not really going to be important to fixed wireless access. Possibly it'll make the network perform a little bit better on the edge cell. Probably help the mobile user more often than not, right? Probably help with the lack of densification for AT&T. They haven't really been building as many new sites as people would have liked, but you know, they're very careful about their spend. They're taking their good old time to build the 600. I think their plan is to get to 40% of the country in 3 years, so it's nothing to get excited about. Snail's pace for a low band carrier, in my opinion. But anyways, AT&T is just kind of starting to monetize their 5G home internet, right? They're just starting to scale internet air. They just enjoyed a quarter, the first time, going over 200,000 net adds. I think closer to 250,000 net adds, something like that. And maybe you guys remember, you can, correct me if I'm wrong there on those numbers. But as the network modernizes and as their fiber circuits get upgraded and have more capacity, they can sell internet air to more folks. And this is important because there's still additional spectrum that's coming to market in the form of auction, right? So, upper C-band, which is set for no later than summer of 2027, an additional 100 to 180 megahertz of bandwidth, AT&T will likely get involved. I think Verizon and AT&T do. And they already have N77 equipment deployed, so it would allow them to essentially just boost the capacity with software updates. I think in some cases, it's gotten to the point where maybe additional radios will have to be deployed, but trust me, they'll get involved. I think it's a foregone conclusion. But AT&T, with the additional EchoStar spectrum, some additional spectrum in the form of auction, Ericsson conversions that modernize their network, the fiber circuits I spoke to previously, all those things happening, and AT&T still is only at 1/6 the capacity utilization by 5G home internet, which means there is a lot of room for them to run and gain more customers, and it won't impact the network in a negative way. They've got the whole copper catch thing. You have DSL customers from AT&T who are getting shut off. Those customers will likely want to and need to get moved over to 5G home internet as a solution, right? Or, they're looking for some other kind of solution from some other company. But based on the research, there's supposed to be a slowdown in FWA growth in 2026. I just don't see it. Maybe Verizon had some bad quarters, weren't adding a lot of customers, but AT&T is just getting started, and they're accelerating growth. They haven't even peaked, in my opinion. I still think they've got another 2, 3, maybe 4 quarters where their growth exceeds what they had last quarter. And I think they will enjoy that type of growth for at least 1 full calendar year. So no, I don't think 2026 is the time. I think the peak growth happens in 27. I think growth continues the rest of the way. Maybe it starts to slow down in 2027, 2028, but I still think I don't think cable is going to see losses stop. At the very least, having that discussion in 2030. That's where I'll start. Until that point, I expect losses at big cable. It's too easy. They have, negative equity, bad perceptions from consumers, and now you've got options as a customer that are priced better, that are more convenient, that are even more reliable in some cases. They can make all the commercials they want about 5G home internet. It doesn't matter. People like it. because they don't need a technician. They plug it in, it turns on, and as long as it's reliable, it'll work, and it's at a price point that they could handle, and they're happy and they're satisfied with it. I know they don't report, churn results, but they don't report churn at Big Cable either. They just say best churn ever, and they never give you numbers, so it's all the same to me. But before I digress, AT&T focused here now on 5G home internet. They can actually grow. I think they will continue to, and I think they're going to enjoy a lot of that growth that's left in the industry. AT&T currently has, I think, maybe just a shade over 1 million customers on the service. Maybe. If I remember correctly, they only started really monetizing this in the last year. And I think some quarters they've had like 75,000 to 125,000 net adds. Now they're starting to push that 200,000 net adds. So they might be around 1 million subs. But I would expect them to double that next year. And so that would put them closer to 3 million. I think potentially they're probably looking at a 5 to 8 million customers on this service at some point. Remember, they've got a lot of places that have DSL, and AT&T is probably not going to lay fiber there, at least not anytime soon, which means 5G home internet becomes the viable option there. So I think there's a lot of room to run for them. Probably the most of the other two, right? And probably more so AT&T. Remember, they're late to the party, so they're just getting involved. Their growth is still on the horizon. But let me know your thoughts and opinions on this data, on this research, my projections, predictions. What are yours? Sound off in the comments. Like, share, and subscribe. Check out some more videos. We'll see you guys soon in the next one.